Before we begin, viewer discretion is advised. What you're about to hear is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is the actual courtroom testimony from the federal trial of Sean Diddy Combs, as reported by Inner City Press. The atmosphere in the courtroom was tense as day 7 began, but nobody expected what came next. Out of nowhere, Oprah Winfrey, a woman known for staying away from scandal, walked calmly into the courtroom and took the witness stand. While the media had been painting Diddy as a villain, Oprah came to present a different side of the story. She looked directly at the jury and said something shocking. "He is innocent." It was a moment that surprised everyone. She said her view was based on her own experience, her instincts, and private conversations that had never been shared publicly before. The courtroom went silent. The world watched, and as Oprah began to speak, one thing became clear. This trial was no longer just about guilt or innocence. It was about who people choose to believe. No one had seen her name on the witness list. There were no media leaks, no hints, but just... Before court started that day, a quiet buzz filled the room. Security shifted positions. A side door opened, and there she was. Oprah Winfrey, one of the most well-known women in TV history, entered without saying a word. She wore a grey-fitted suit and glasses, walking with the calm confidence that once made her a household name. But this wasn't a TV show. This was federal court. And she wasn't interviewing anyone. She was giving sworn testimony. The reaction was immediate. Reporters started typing fast. Phones vibrated under desks, and even the sketch artists began drawing again. Diddy's legal team stood, not out of duty, but out of pure shock. Diddy himself looked stunned. He whispered something to his lawyer, who shrugged as if to say, "We didn't know either." The judge lifted an eyebrow but didn't stop her. The bailiff confirmed she was cleared to speak. "Ms. Winfrey," the clerk said, "you may take the stand." Everyone in the courtroom leaned forward as Oprah slowly walked to the witness box. She took her oath clearly, saying each word carefully. Then, in the silence that followed, she said, "I'm here today because I can't stay quiet while a man I've known for over 20 years is being shown as someone I don't recognize." Her words hit hard. The prosecutors froze. The jurors turned to look. The audience didn't move. She continued, "I wasn't forced to be here. I'm not trying to save a friendship. I'm here because I believe this whole case is built on misunderstanding, rumors, and partial truths." From that moment on, it became clear Oprah wasn't just offering background, she was directly challenging the entire case. Oprah settled into the witness chair. Her voice was calm but firm, the same voice that once comforted millions, now cutting through the tension in court. She began by acknowledging how serious the charges were. She said, "I would never downplay the pain of anyone who says they were hurt." But her tone quickly became more determined. She explained that she had known Sean Combs, Diddy, both publicly and privately. "The man I know is not the person being described in these stories," she said. One of the prosecutors leaned in to whisper something, but the judge didn't stop Oprah. She was allowed to continue. She shared how she first met Diddy at a charity event in 1999. He was younger, flashy, but what stood out to her was his passion for helping others. She recalled his visits to schools in Chicago, late-night calls about mentorship programs, donations he made quietly to struggling artists. She also spoke of private dinners, group retreats, and deep conversations that made her believe Diddy cared more about helping others than about showing off. Then Oprah said something that caught everyone's attention. "If you believe everything being said about him right now, then you must believe I've been blind for 20 years, and I assure you, I have not." She then addressed the claims made by Cassie Ventura. "I've watched Cassie grow in this industry. I know she's faced hard times, but I do not believe Diddy is guilty of what she's accusing him of," Oprah said. She made it clear that she respects survivors. "I've supported them, interviewed them, walked with them, but I also know when a story doesn't match what I've personally seen." She finished this part with a strong message. We shouldn't ignore people's pain, but we also can't confuse pain with proof. After her opening remarks, many thought Oprah would just speak generally about Diddy's good character. But she surprised everyone. She came with facts. She had a binder full of notes. Calmly, she began turning pages and directly challenging the case against Diddy. She started with an incident from 2010 in Las Vegas that had come up in several testimonies. "I was there," Oprah said. "Not at the club, but at the hotel suite later that night. And I can tell you, the stories being told are missing key details." She described the scene as wild and celebratory, but not illegal. People were partying, drinking, and signing contracts. But according to Oprah, no one was forced, no one was drugged. And two people she spoke with the next day remembered things very differently. Then she moved on to Cassie Ventura's claims again, but this time with even more detail. Oprah said, "Cassie is brave for speaking out, but being brave doesn't mean you can't be wrong." She shared a phone call from 2015 where Cassie reportedly complained about her contract, not about feeling unsafe. I asked her clearly, "Do you feel abused?" She said, "I feel boxed in, but that's just how it is in this industry." One of the jurors even wrote that phrase down, "boxed in," twice. Then, Oprah addressed one of the wildest claims, the so-called freak-off parties. She said she'd heard the rumors and seen the headlines, but she had also attended Diddy's black tie charity events. They looked more like fundraisers than fantasies, she said. She dismissed the idea of underground parties and tunnels as urban legends mixed with online fear. She urged the court to tell the difference between drama and real evidence. Then she said what might become the most quoted line of her entire appearance. "If candles and closed doors are all it takes to destroy a man, then Hollywood is one big, open-air prison." Oprah then spoke about Diddy's personality. She said he isn't perfect. No powerful person is. He's complex. He has an ego at times. But that doesn't make him a predator, she said. She made it clear, "I don't believe he's a trafficker. I don't believe he's a monster. I believe he's a target. And that difference matters." By the time she closed her binder, the jury no longer just saw Oprah defending a celebrity. They saw a woman who had done her research and wasn't afraid to speak against the crowd. The courtroom had gone still, not because things slowed down, but because Oprah had shifted the mood. It felt serious, almost sacred. Then she turned her focus to a different problem: the media. Oprah, no stranger to headlines, began carefully. "I've spent my life in front of cameras, on magazine covers, under the spotlight. I know the power of a story, and I know how quickly it can turn into a weapon." Looking directly at the jury, she said, "That's what's happening here." She spoke about how Diddy wasn't being tried just in court, but on the internet. "This isn't justice. It's a digital takedown, built by hashtags, algorithms, and outrage," she said. She held up a folder full of tweets and headlines. "Diddy the Predator," "Music Mogul or Monster," "Cancel Combs." "This isn't reporting, it's sentencing," Oprah declared. She pointed out how the same media that once celebrated Diddy was now trying to destroy him. They gave him awards in the 2000s. Now they're burning him in the 2020s, she said. Oprah continued by pointing out something important. She said this trial wasn't just about what happened in court, but also about how public opinion had already turned against Diddy. She said, "I've seen headlines twist my words. I've seen stories turn into lies. I was lucky. I had the money and platform to fight back." But what happens to someone like Diddy, who's already drowning in scandal? She asked. The story becomes the truth, not because it's correct, but because it's loud. One of Diddy's lawyers smiled quietly, something that hadn't happened much during the trial. Then Oprah made it even clearer. "I'm not saying every claim is false. I'm saying justice shouldn't come from clickbait." She then shared a shocking example, a screenshot from a popular blog. The headline claimed Diddy had a secret underground bunker full of victims. This headline got 1.4 million clicks, she said. It came from a Reddit post by an anonymous user. No facts, No follow-up. Yet here we are, asking a jury to forget everything they've already seen online. The courtroom fell silent. Oprah wasn't just criticizing the media. She was criticizing everyone who believed wild stories without proof. Her final question for this part of the testimony struck hard. How can a man get a fair trial in the age of the internet when he's already been judged on every screen in America? No one had an answer. After calling out the media, Oprah moved on to share something very personal, something that had never been revealed before. She said that back in 2015, she had dinner with Cassie Ventura in Los Angeles. It was a private meeting. No managers, no cameras, just the two of them. At the time, Cassie was struggling with her career and her relationship with Diddy. She was hurting, Oprah said, but it wasn't fear I saw, it was exhaustion. Oprah said Cassie told her she felt stuck. She said her contract left her no space to grow. She felt more like a product than a person. Then Oprah shared a key moment. She said, I asked her if she felt unsafe with Diddy. She looked me in the eye and said, no, I just feel forgotten. That line, I just feel forgotten, lingered in the air. The prosecution objected, calling it hearsay, but the judge allowed Oprah to continue, saying it gave background on Cassie's mindset. Oprah made it clear, I'm not trying to erase Cassie's truth. I'm just adding mine. She then spoke about another conversation from 2019, when Cassie was separating from Diddy publicly. Cassie called her in tears, saying she couldn't handle the media pressure anymore. She never once used words like abuse or assault, Oprah said. She talked about feeling controlled, about people shaping her image, and about losing her own voice. Then Oprah shared a chilling quote from Cassie. I just want people to remember I'm more than his girlfriend. Oprah paused. That's the pain I saw, a woman trying to be seen. But I didn't see someone scared for her life. I saw someone stuck in a contract. By now, Oprah had already addressed the accusations, the media, and even Cassie's claims. But now, she moved on to one of the most talked about rumors, the so-called Diddy tunnels. Lately, there had been viral posts and online rumors suggesting that Diddy had secret tunnels under his homes where awful things happened. Some claimed there were hidden rooms, victims, and recording setups. Oprah called it out clearly. I've been to Diddy's homes, not once, but many times. Over the last 20 years, she said, yes, there are basements. Yes, there are wine cellars and security rooms, but there are no tunnels, no hidden chambers, no cages. This isn't a horror movie, it's just a house. She mentioned a 2008 charity planning event she attended at one of his homes in New York. I was there for over 8 hours. We moved freely from room to room. No phones were taken. No NDAs were signed. It was a fundraiser, not a cult. The gallery murmured, but Oprah pressed on. She said these tunnel stories started online, just like all wild rumors. She even traced one of the first claims to a post by someone who said they were a former intern, but never proved who they were. That one post got 1 million views, she said, and people treated it like fact. Then she brought up other crazy online tales, cloning labs, devil worship, secret bunkers. We've gotten so addicted to wild stories, we can't tell what's real anymore, she warned. She added one more serious point. Every time we believe these fantasy stories, we make it harder for real victims to be believed. We turn courtrooms into stages, and that's not what justice is supposed to be. The judge allowed her to continue without interruption. She ended this part by saying, I don't think Diddy is perfect. He's not above being questioned, but I do not believe he's hiding victims under his flaws, and anyone making money off that lie should be ashamed. Next, Oprah addressed something even more intense, Monique's testimony from the day before. Monique had shocked the court by accusing Diddy, Tyler Perry, and even Oprah herself of being part of a system that protected abusers and silenced victims. Now it was Oprah's turn to respond. She began calmly. I watched Ms. Jackson's testimony, Oprah said, using Monique's real name. I believe she was telling her truth. But one person's truth doesn't mean it's the whole truth. The courtroom didn't need a reminder of who Monique was. They had already heard her emotional story about being blacklisted, ignored, and hurt by people she once trusted, including Oprah. Oprah didn't deny the tension. Yes, we had issues. Yes, there were misunderstandings. But this trial isn't about old grudges. It's about criminal charges. She paused, then delivered a powerful line. Pain is real. But pain can also cloud judgment. Then Oprah strongly denied Monique's claim that she had protected abusers. I have never covered up abuse. I have never defended criminals. And it's dangerous to say that disagreement equals guilt. She even talked about the 2010 interview Monique was upset about, the one where Oprah aired comments from Monique's brother, who had admitted to hurting her. Oprah admitted, "It was a mistake. I regret that decision. Not because it was wrong, but because it hurt her. I called and apologized." But then she reminded the court, "That personal issue has nothing to do with this trial." The defense team leaned forward, sensing the mood shifting again. Still, Oprah didn't try to bring Monique down. She said, "Monique is brave. Her voice matters. But personal anger should not be turned into a legal case. This isn't about Hollywood drama. It's about federal law." Then she surprised everyone. She said she had proof that parts of Monique's timeline were wrong. She had emails and records showing that conversations Monique claimed happened in 2008 had actually taken place in 2012, and under very different circumstances. She offered the proof to the court. The prosecution objected, saying it was just an attempt to discredit Monique, but the judge allowed it, since Monique had named Oprah in her own testimony. Finally, Oprah said something that hit the room hard. "This trial feels like payback, disguised as justice. But what we need is not revenge. We need truth. And when we use trauma to settle personal scores, we're not helping survivors. We're using them." The courtroom sat in silence. As Oprah finished responding to Monique, she turned to the gallery. Her voice stayed calm. Not angry, but serious. "We can't afford to mix personal feelings with legal facts," she said. "Not now. Not in a case this important." Throughout her testimony, Oprah's tone had stayed strong. But now, it softened. She became more personal. This wasn't just about defending Diddy anymore. It felt like she was pleading with the court to look deeper. "I've known Sean Combs since before many people in this room could vote," she said. "I've seen him at his worst. I've seen him try to change." She paused. "But what I see now, it doesn't feel like justice. It feels like a witch hunt." That word, witch hunt, hung in the air. Some people frowned, others nodded. Oprah continued, "We live in a time where just being accused is treated like being guilty, where a man's whole life can be torn apart by a few headlines, anonymous posts, and viral videos." Then she looked straight at the jury and asked, "Be honest, when did you first think he might be guilty? Was it after you heard the evidence here in court? Or was it when you saw the memes, the tweets, the hashtags?" Her voice shook a little. "I know what it feels like to have your name twisted, to be told you must be blind or wrong, or part of the problem just because you won't follow the crowd." Then she shared a private moment from 2021. Diddy had cancelled a big appearance after a tabloid published an unproven claim. "He called me," Oprah said. "He didn't sound mad. He sounded broken. He said, 'I've made mistakes, but I'm not a monster.' And I believed him, because I've seen who he is when no cameras are around." Then she said something powerful. "If you want to charge him for being arrogant, flashy, or flawed, go ahead. But that's not what this is. This is about destroying someone's legacy." The courtroom grew quiet again. Even the judge looked thoughtful. Oprah tapped her hand gently on the witness stand. Her voice was steady as she spoke her final message. "This trial isn't just about one man," she said. "It's about how we treat powerful black men. It's about how quickly we assume guilt before looking at facts. It's about how 30 years of hard work can be erased by 30 minutes of gossip. Then she asked the jury something direct. Do we want justice, or do we want someone to blame? Because it feels like this courtroom has already made up its mind. And it's not based on evidence. Suddenly, the woman who had been accused of staying silent was now being seen as the one person asking the court to slow down and think clearly. Oprah looked around the courtroom, at the lawyers, the sketch artists, the gallery, and said, "You can cancel a man, you can cancel a career, but you cannot cancel the truth." And the truth is, Diddy deserves a fair trial, not a public stoning. The room was thick with emotion, not loud, just heavy, still. Then, after hours of testifying, Oprah gave her final statement. "I didn't come here to protect a friend," she said. "I came here to protect a principle." She knew people would be angry with her testimony. Some will say I betrayed women. Some will say I ignored abuse, that I chose loyalty over justice. But I refuse to accept that we have to throw away fairness to support victims. Her voice grew a little stronger. "I'm not defending everything Diddy has done, but I am defending his right to be judged fairly, not destroyed by rumors." She turned once again to the jury. "You're not just deciding one case. You're deciding what kind of country we live in. One where truth matters, or one where headlines decide who is guilty." Then she turned to the courtroom, where no cameras were allowed, but where people would still draw and write what they saw. "Let them say what they want. I've lived long enough to know that truth will always rise through the noise." Finally, she pulled out a folded piece of paper. It was her own handwritten note. She read it. "This system doesn't just judge people. It eats them alive. It blows up their mistakes, repeats their wrongs, and forgets they're human. I'm not here to change the rules. I'm here to remind you they still exist." There was no applause, no drama, just silence. The judge thanked her. As Oprah stepped down, Diddy stood, not to speak, not to celebrate, just to give a quiet nod. His eyes were watery, his face was heavy. Oprah walked out the same way she came in, calm, quiet, and sure of what she said. But what she left behind was anything but quiet. In a trial filled with noise, fear, and years of silence, Oprah had finally spoken.